Welcome to the Sensible Center podcast, where two middle-aged guys drunkenly talk politics and political reform. Grab an adult beverage and enjoy the show. Further information can be found at sensiblecenterpack.com. You can reach us at sensiblecenterpack@gmail.com or follow us on X at USASCPack. Hey, Bob, how's it going? How's summer going? It's almost
fantastic.
over.
I can't believe it. Summer's flying by. Late August already? Mid-August?
Mid-August.
Yeah.
Mid-August, and the Cubs are falling like a rock.
Oh, man. You can almost set your watch by it.
I don't know. The Wisconsinites are brew crew crazy now.
Yeah, I was having a conversation the other day with somebody about how much I hate Brewers fans.
They are a fly-by-night fanship.
How much I love Packers fans, though, and they're the same people.
You need to resolve that somehow, Bob.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem
not.
consistent. Although I do think Brewers fans, they're very skittish here about the Brewers. I think I'm seeing ads, and it says 12 wins equal $12 tickets. I'm like, why are they selling tickets for $12 for the winningest team in baseball in the middle of a playoff drive?
Right, yep. They should be selling out every night for like $60, $70 tickets.
Right. They're doing a promotion with $12 tickets.
That's crazy.
And then the big thing is that some big hamburger chains giving out free hamburgers I guess they're franchise tying 12 wins, but
yeah.
We'll see. But the Cubbies better at least make the playoffs.
They just stopped hitting. They stopped hitting, and I blame Jed Hoyer a bit. I blame the coaching staff a bit. You can tell the team's kind of frustrated and tight, and I actually had to stop watching them. I haven't watched the last 2 or 3 games because the last 5 before that I'd watch the game and they'd lose at the end and they just looked awful, and I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm not watching the Cubs until they start winning again.
For our regular listeners, we've changed our podcast into sports talk. We're trying to expand our audience. We figure it worked for all the ESPN channels, and what is that, Stephen K. Smith or Stephen L. Smith?
Stephen A. Smith, I think.
He was on Maurer last week, right?
Yep.
It's one of my least favorite personalities.
Stephen A. Smith?
Stephen A. Smith. And I guess he's going to run for president.
Right. You know what? Good, because he'll at least drive some conversation. I like that. I did not realize he was going to run for president, but
I think he's hinting at it. With Rahm Emanuel. I think Rahm is definitely going to run. It's going to be interesting because Rahm and JB are going to run.
Yep,
they're going to split that Illinois Democratic vote. That'd be interesting to see them carpet each other.
I think Rahm's a more likable personality than JB.
Yeah, I like Rahm. I would consider. He's got an edge to him, which I like, that most Democrats don't have.
Yeah.
I think he's a killer. He's a hard ass.
He's been out of the news cycle for 10 years,
Which could be a good thing,
Yep. That is a good thing.
He's got a lot of different kinds of experience. So, we'll see. It's too early to talk about that. But I'm glad. Did you see Trump's nominees for... or who he's inducting into the Kennedy Center Honors?
I did not.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. Kid Rock did not get in. Neither did Chuck Norris. But Sylvester Stallone did. That's a man of the people. And Kiss, the rock group Kiss.
Kiss got in, huh?
I can't wait to see that. Because usually Kennedy Center Honors, they do some like pop stuff. I like watching that show because it's interesting because it's like a tribute to the people. But they do a lot of cultural, and Trump's was, I would say, a little less cultural, Sometimes they'll do ballet dancers or classical music. Half of them will be kind of what I would consider highfalutin. I think Trump's are a little bit more of the people, but not overly so. I think
Kid Rock, Hulk Hogan.
He said he participated 98% in the decisions. I could see him going through the list.
Yep.
That guy kills me. Absolutely kills me.
Trump is enjoying his life, if nothing else.
Yeah. he is enjoying his life. Anyway, speaking of Trump,
About to meet Putin in a few hours, I think.
yeah, I saw him. I think he was getting on the plane or something,
Yeah.
heading to Alaska.
Alaska, yep.
I guess that's halfway or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at a map and see where Moscow is. I feel like Moscow's closer than D.C. to Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska's pretty far away, but so is Moscow, I think. Moscow's
Yeah.
closer to Europe, and Russia's pretty big, so they could fly over their own
Yeah,
country for a long time.
makes sense.
They got a lot of. Maybe he could visit all the gulags up there before
Yeah.
before he gets to Alaska. This will be an interesting meeting. I don't know. There doesn't seem any preconditions in regards to it, nor have they really, I think, agreed to anything in principle. So I think typical Trump, he's flying sort of by the seat of his pants.
Yeah, I think he wants to end the war. I don't know if I think at this point he's just trying to make some progress. He's probably going to try to get them to agree to a ceasefire. I don't know if he can win the land fight, right? I think Russia's going to ask for free land. I don't know if I'm Ukraine if I'd want to do that.
Yeah, Putin's going to need something, right? He's not just
Yeah,
going to kind of walk away from it, right?
yeah.
He needs at least something to save face, right?
He's gonna go home with the lease for Alaska. Is what's gonna happen.
I'm sort of afraid
Yeah,
because we did get it from them,
we
right?
did. Yeah, for basically nothing. A few cents. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be funny? They could come out of the press conference. Yeah, we're giving away
Oh, that would be terrible.
Alaska as part of this deal. I don't think Trump would do that. Too much oil there.
No. Yeah. Yeah, Alaska's not going anywhere but that. Yeah, that'd be awful.
But it sort of reminds me of, I guess this is the second time or third time he's met Putin. I mean, it sort of reminds me what he did with the little rocket man. It's just sort of like, there wasn't any, not much pre-work in regards to a framework. Usually when you do these things, the
Yep.
two sides have kind of having a framework and it's sort of like a formality type of thing. Trump doesn't really do that. He kind of just wants to, I think it's because he thinks he's the deal maker in chief. So,
Hmm. He thinks
uh,
if he goes and looks somebody in the eye and shakes their hand and talks to them that they can work something out. The thing is, there's so many global politics in play here, and everybody wants their little piece of money, and everybody wants to hold on to their grudge and their spite. And there's
yeah, I mean, I think it's fundamentally different than a business deal, right? I mean,
well,
I don't think
especially this
I
because
don't think
it's
he
really not.
understands that. But when you're in business, yes, both sides have an interest in cutting a deal. Maybe one side has a bit more leverage than the other, but I think both get something out. I think generally the dynamic of a geopolitical solution is much different than a business deal, and I think he's gotten frustrated by that. Although he said he's solved like 3 or 4 wars in the last 6 months. I don't know what he's counting. He keeps on bringing up Albania. I didn't know there was an Albanian
Yeah,
war
there's the
going on.
India-Pakistan
Yeah,
thing.
there's India, Pakistan. He solved that. Then Albania, and then there was a third one. I don't know. I think it was some of the stands or something. I don't know.
Could have been one of the countries that Israel was fighting with, maybe, or not
So
really the country, but the.
I think he's relying on his. I mean, if he does do this, he's got my vote. If we could vote online for the Nobel Peace Prize,
Yeah, he's got it.
if he brings this one in, within
Yeah,
the
see, this is
year,
one of those things that I think could really have a benefit on the economy. It's one of the wild cards, right? Bring the
yeah, I
price
mean,
of
it's kind
oil
of
down
dropped
somewhat.
off the radar, but clearly we're spending money. I mean, there's money burning up, in our economy, whether he gets the money back from Ukraine or not. And then there's the oil prices and the
Yep.
natural gas for Europe and all of that kind of tied into this. So,
Yeah, and I mean, there's also American businesses that are over there that have to operate a little bit differently in all of this. So maybe it opens up a little bit more of the trade again, and maybe I don't know if he he makes a deal and puts a 15% tariff on anything from Russia. what happens, right? But it can shift things.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes out bad, if they come out and Trump is like, to hell with him, it would be interesting to see what the impact is. I'm guessing whatever it is, Trump's going to say it's a victory. I'm thinking he is going in thinking he's going to get Putin's bottom line and then have to sell it to Zelensky, right?
Yeah, and the rest of Europe. Yeah.
And rest of Europe saying, this is the best we're going to get. You guys got to, whatever it is. I'm thinking that's what he's going to try to do is kind of try to get Putin to his bottom line and then try to twist the arms of everyone else. It sounds like that's a strategy because he's talking about a second meeting already and then bringing in Europe and Zelensky. So
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. What's your prediction?
I don't expect anything major today or tomorrow, right? Out of this initial meeting, I think kind of like what you said, Trump is going to say, "Hey, we're close to a deal. We've got a great deal framework. This is going to be fantastic. Putin's a great guy. That's. But there's still got to be some work behind it. Maybe I'll be surprised. It would be fantastic if he came out of it and said, we have a deal for a ceasefire pending the rest of these negotiations. That'd be fantastic.
That would be the win. An initial ceasefire, and we're just going to tie up the details.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a ceasefire, have they? I know
not.
that one was thrown back and forth, right?
I think they had one on Easter Day, or if it was Christmas or Easter, one of those holidays, they took a day off. But I was reading that a lot of the fighting now is actually drones. I think we're pretty close to wars that are going to be drones on drones and robots on robots instead of people. That'll be great.
Well, let's move into the next topic then, because I wanted to talk about AI. So you're into the computer world, right? You're into you got your pulse on the how comfortable are you with AI as a topic? Does it come up in conversation in your work?
Every day.
Does it really?
Every day. Yeah. Every day. I talk about it multiple times daily.
Wow.
Conversation today. Yeah.
And it seems like to me, being a retired guy, just kind of reading and looking at it, not being part of a business anymore, that it's moving quickly. Is that your take, or is it still kind of pie in the sky stuff, or are people actually saying, yeah, this is going to change the nature of the way we do business?
There's a lot of different angles with AI, and where I think it's going to change things now, it's already affecting now developers, because AI is pretty good at coding, right?
Yeah, there was a Wall Street Journal article just the other day that saying people are. I feel sorry for it because the last 10 years I've been advising young people to go into coding.
Yeah, I know.
I missed the boat. I'm like, yeah, you'll be set.
I've actually been trying to encourage my developers to use AI to improve efficiency when it comes to code writing, right? Because the AI can't exactly completely, you can't just say, hey, AI, write me this code that will do this for my program, right?
So Deb actually asked me an hour ago, how does AI code? So she's like, do you just tell it what you want it to do? Or how does that actually work?
Yes, you can do that. Hey, I want you to write me a program to do, I don't know, write me a version of the old game Pong, and it can do that, right? That's pretty simple and basic. But you can tell it what language you want it to code in for you, right? Then you can say, okay, I need an API, which is kind of a connector between apps, if you will. So Microsoft Word or Microsoft Outlook can send an email anytime somebody uses the app to do something, right? So you can have it write little bits and pieces for you, and then just kind of tailor it to fit in your network environment, and it can write large pieces of code pretty well and pretty
Wow.
efficiently. And it's getting better, right? Where it really shines in the development world right now is you can take code that you've written. You can take old COBOL code and say, rewrite this in Python, and it can do it. It can do it really well. And instead of somebody that it might take many weeks to understand what the COBOL code did, and then translate that to Python, I mean, AI can do that stuff pretty quick. Or you can put in your code and say, tell me what my code does, right? And it'll tell you what the code's meant to do. Or you can say, make this code more secure, make this code a little more efficient, knock so many milliseconds off the runtime, things like that. And it's really good at that sort of thing. Really good.
And how long has that been the case? That you feel comfortable using it to do that kind of stuff?
Well, even today, I would still want to run it through a static scan and a dynamic scan,
Okay.
right? So I want to look at it when it's not running, and I want to look at it when it is running and doing what it's supposed to do to see if an automated tool can find vulnerabilities in that code, right?
So you don't trust it 100% yet.
Right, but well, you don't trust your developers either. You know what I mean? I mean, your developers are going to make mistakes too.
Depending on, yeah.
Yeah, you still have to be smart, right? You can't just do the work or have it do your work and just plug it in, right?
Right.
I mean, honestly, the same thing goes for microchips nowadays. You get a chip that's made in China and you're going to put it into your whatever you're building, your widget. You need to make sure you're testing, because it's very likely that chip is potentially sending something offshore.
Holy cow.
You know what I mean? That stuff it is happening, and companies are finding that. They're finding data leakage, and they're trying to figure out where it's from, and in many cases, it's implants in there.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's well, and if you really were to dig into it, this is way off topic, right? But if you were to have a firewall in your house and look at all the traffic that goes out and really look at it, you'd see a lot of stuff, and you're like, what is this? I don't understand it. Well, in many cases, if you have a camera that was made in China, there's some that camera phones home every once in a while to China.
Right.
What it's sending? Yeah, I don't know, right? It could just be pinging something and looking for a license in some cases. I don't know why a camera would do that, but it also may very well be sending footage, and you can kind of start to determine some of that based upon the amount of data that's sent, things like that. But yeah, and so, people who really want to spend the time, you get a firewall. You look at that, you look at everything that's going out piece by piece, and you start to just shut stuff off and you start to block it. And then when something doesn't work, okay, I probably shouldn't have shut that off. Let me turn this back on.
So I guess from the 10,000 foot, 30,000 foot perspective, what I see happening is, there's the Magnificent Seven. Our stock market over the last 2 years has been heavily weighted towards AI, right? Data centers, any AI play is driving more last year than this year, but it's starting to go back this year, right? If you look at Nasdaq and the real leaders in market, at least stock market growth, and some of the IPOs that have come out, seems all sort of AI play, right?
Yeah. Well, and lawyers, right? Lawyers are the other ones that are already, I think, starting to feel the pinch, because AI does law really well, right?
Yep. So I guess my question is: is the American public or the world ready for what's going to hit us in the next 5 years? I mean, is this going to be a problem, a societal level problem?
Eventually, it will require drastic restructuring of the economy. Yes.
So what?
I don't think that's 5 years out.
But nobody's talking about that, right? I mean, I
wouldn't say nobody's talking about it.
I put the debt up there, and then this is like 1-2 as far as the shit hitting the fan, like on a major basis, right? I mean, it could be for the good, but it's still going to take some major societal changes, right? I mean, if you're talking even about self-driving trucks and cars. Just think how
Well,
fundamentally that's going to shift certain sectors of our
yeah,
economy, right?
and I was just going to make that point, right? So if Elon's cyber taxi comes out in the next few months to a year, which he seems to be convinced it is, you in retirement, right? It might not be you.
I see it as
If a
all
cyber
plus side for
taxi is
me.
$30,000, if a cyber taxi is thirty
Right.
thousand dollars, that's actually something that might be a reasonable investment. You might put that into stock when you're moving money around in stock. Right now, beginning, you go buy a cyber taxi for $30,000 and you just let that thing run on its own. You don't even have to do anything, right? I mean,
So it's
maybe
an
you need
investment,
insurance,
right? Yeah.
right?
Right.
And you may never get in that car, but the goal is to have thousands of people get in that car. That thing's driving around and working for you all day, right? So that
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, right? And
Kevin's
then
fleet of cyber taxis.
yeah, once you get comfortable with the one and it's making you some money, you go ahead and buy a second one, right? And then you buy a third one, and it's a reasonable investment for anybody to do, at least till the market gets oversaturated. So yeah, there's opportunity there, but that person who doesn't maybe have the money or the risk appetite to take a loan out to buy a cyber taxi, they're going to be at a disadvantage potentially. Taxi drivers, Uber drivers,
And
that
then
stuff's
you're talking lawyers and coders and
yeah, lawyers, developers. I think you'll still need developers in some form for a long time. Like I said, I mean, you still need to kind of do the finishing touches and the reviews and things like that, but you'll need less of them. One guy could probably, do that for dozens of bits of code instead of having to have dozens of coders to work on individual pieces of code. I think that's kind of where you're going to go. You're going to have big jumps in efficiency in the near term.
yeah, I mean I mean we've clearly over the last 30, 40 years moved from or 50 years moved from a building stuff economy to more of a knowledge economy, right?
Yeah.
Intellectual properties and whatnot. And I do think intellectual properties and creative and all of that is still gonna it's still gonna be around. But I think you're now looking at being a plumber. I mean, I think the trades are going to be the place to make money, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Something that
Well.
requires physical labor, right? That a robot can't do.
Yeah. The really, really skilled individuals, like the woodworkers and the
Right.
carpenters, and there's a carpenter, and then there's like a really good carpenter. Those guys will be in good shape, I think, for a while. Although, I mean, I saw a house not too long ago in person, but I've read about these as well. It more or less now we'll take these foam blocks, and it almost works like Legos. They'll put the foam together, and then
Yeah.
they'll fill the blocks up with concrete, right?
It's
So the
crazy.
foam's the insulation. The concrete is plenty strong. It's quick, it's easy, it's cheap, it's less likely to get major damage in something like a tornado, right? Um, it's it's really kind of cool, and stuff like that be a lot easier for things like 3D printers to make than an old school stick house, right? Stick frame house. So I don't know.
Yeah, and
Kind of neat.
I don't think people are. I do think this is. They always say, "Well, we've always managed with new technologies, the computer, and we went from the buggy to the car, and I just think fundamentally this is going to be different. Maybe I'm just
I do think, and I think today there was an article, very possibly in the Wall Street Journal. People are starting to talk about sooner or later AI is going to have to pay for people who don't have jobs,
yeah. I
right?
just think there's going to need to be a real restructuring on how we think of
Yeah.
how we go through
And
life, our economic life,
if we
and
can get through that transition to the point where you've basically got an AI and robot farm doing things to make money and everybody gets on a good, salary, if you will. I mean, it's utopia there, right? You don't have
Right.
to work a day in
It
your
can
life.
be for the good, right?
Yep, it
But
really can.
what are the
Yep.
chances?
Well, that's the thing, right? Everybody wants their piece, and it's my, me, mine, and don't take my. You go to
Yeah, I
school
mean,
to be a lawyer at Vanderbilt, and you're paying. You end up $200,000 in debt, and then all of a sudden you can't get a job because AI is writing all the contracts. The divorce contracts and the ticket resolutions, fighting those in court.
yeah,
Um,
the coders who are working at Chipotle,
yeah,
as the Wall Street Journal said already. I mean, this is 2025, and they're saying here are real stories where people are being put out of jobs, and in a normal sort of political, getting back to political stuff, in a normal political environment, I would say okay, but nobody's even really. I mean, the only discussion I hear is, do we regulate it? Do we not regulate it? I, I think, and what I hear is, well, we can't regulate it because then China will eat our lunch or somebody else
yep,
will eat our lunch, which I get, right? You don't want to, this is not something you want to fall behind on, right? You don't want to stub your toe and, I think that's the power of this country is the creativity and allowing things to freely develop. This might be a little bit of a different creature, but I have no idea how we would even go about regulating. But my understanding is the any I know in the big beautiful bill they were trying to put through that even states couldn't regulate it, right?
yep.
I think that ended up not being in that bill, but clearly, I think the current administration is saying we want to let this run, right?
In my mind, the best way I think you can regulate it at this point is something along the lines of a requirement that all AI must be programmed to have the human race's best interest in mind, or survival, right? Protect humans at all costs, sort of thing. So at least that way, if it's trained and it's learning, and as it learns, if it comes to survival of the AI versus survival of the human, it always
Choose the survival of the human.
chooses survival of the human, right?
Just a basic kind of moral
Yep.
compass that we should
Yep.
require to be built in. But that
Yep.
would have to be like worldwide, right? It's got to be like a worldwide assumed standard that we're gonna. This is we can't have it go and think about itself as a because that's the other thing is it eventually just gonna see us as
Threat.
worthless. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not even getting to that stage because I'm more worried about the jobs thing and the economic thing, but
Yep. Yep.
that's further down the line.
Well, it'd be hard for a human to unplug your cord if they didn't have any hands, right? And so sooner or later, one of them. That's the thing that's odd about it. The robot thing is a whole other thing to me. Like, I don't know if I would want one of those things in my house. If we get 10 years down the road and you've got these AI bots walking around your house that can do all your chores for you,
I don't know. As a retired guy
it sounds
who's
great.
getting slower by the day, it sounds awesome.
It sounds great, but do you really want, like, you wake up in the middle of the night and that thing's standing over your bed? Oh, man, that freaks me out. Uh-uh.
Yeah, I'll take that chance.
Yeah. It's like a horror movie.
If
And I
it's
don't
gonna
even watch
wipe
horror
my
movies.
if it's gonna wipe my ass at the end of the day,
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah.
I can live with that. Hopefully, it will be nice. You know, it won't be creepy robot.
Yeah. There's obviously benefits there too. Again, but if it's AI and AI ever turns on you and you got it in your house, then good
Hey,
luck.
hey, if I'm 75, 80 at that point,
That's yeah.
it's true.
Where I'm most excited about it, it's things like curing rare diseases and cancer, and
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Figure that
that's
stuff out.
that's what's exciting to me. But
We've been beating our head against that wall long enough. If it could give
yeah,
us a leg up. So are you let's say, are you overall positive or are you overall negative on AI at this stage?
Oh, I'm positive.
You're
I mean, it's
positive.
making my life easier already. Um, I like being able to type in to the AI, show me, summarize all my emails for the week, right? And then it's an easy reminder to myself when I read through that. Oh yeah, I got to remember to do this next week, right? Or if somebody asks me for an update on something, I've got it right there. Or make my email sound friendly, or please edit my email and make it sound more professional or whatever, and then you can have it do that, and then you hit send, or review it one more time, hit send. Right? You don't have to sleep on something anymore to not sound angry. You just tell AI to check it for you, and then it takes care of it. That kind of stuff is kind of
Yeah,
neat.
I should play with it more. I really should. I mean, primarily the only thing I use it for now is to make birthday greetings
Yeah, yeah,
on social media, and I think I had it write a chapter of my book at one point.
you must.
Uh, but I think I think I just got because I bought the new iPhone. I just saw that it it put some type of app in there for Apple
AI.
Intelligence, so
Yeah,
I might have to play with that a little bit. I haven't played with the Twitter one. I played with ChatGPT a little bit, but
yeah.
I
So
know other
yeah,
people who
Grok
use it
now
quite a bit.
has a
Grok,
cool feature.
the Grok, Mecha
Like
Hitler.
you can take an old picture. Let's say you've got a picture of like your great grandfather,
Hmm.
and you can take that picture, put it into AI, and it'll turn it into a video for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's
weird.
pretty neat, right?
That is
No,
crazy.
I doubt, it wouldn't make sense for it to be able to. Obviously, people move uniquely,
Right.
so
It's not going to be exactly how they move, but
right, it's
you
still,
could still get
yeah,
a sense. All right. I would say I'm generally positive, but I guess I'm glad I'm not in the working world or starting off in the working world just because I'd be a little bit more concerned about what it's going to be. Because I could see like previous jobs I've had that would be easy to kind of, if not replace me completely, replace a good number of the people doing my same thing. At least reduce the staff that's needed, I would say.
yeah,
If not a complete elimination. That, as you know, we talked about it earlier. There's euphemisms like leveraging and efficiency. And I sent you that chart that showed CEO expectation of net reduction in labor force, that it's kind of really started to take off again, which I think is what we're kind of seeing now
yeah.
with the labor softness. Maybe it's too early. Maybe it's not AI driven,
I
but
don't. Yeah, I think some of it's blaming AI. It's just an easy excuse, right?
right.
Yeah, AI. We're cutting, and it provides political cover for some of these big organizations to say something like that too, right? Because
Yep.
you make the politicians in power look bad, and they'll find a way to make you pay for it.
Yeah, it's hard to parse that out as far as how much is really AI driven versus you know, like you said, an excuse, or maybe you have a softening in your business or whatever other reason
Right.
that's driving the net reduction. But I think you will find companies using that because it sounds like they're progressive and looking towards the future where they might not actually be. So let's leave AI. Let's talk about. We haven't had an update on Epstein. I guess the way that was left is Congress kind of left town right
Yep.
before
And they
anyone
left
voted
early.
on subpoenaing,
Yep.
just subpoenaing,
And I think they're
and
hoping it goes away. Right. That's
yeah,
the goal. And I've noticed. I was thinking about this last night. You haven't really heard any news stories about Epstein lately, right? It did kind of go out of the media.
right.
You can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but I really do think
All
that the
right, I
media and the
will.
politicians work very closely together to control messages, right? So you're gonna, yeah. And I don't know how that comes back into the media. I don't know. There'll be something on social media that maybe can kick something off, but unless it gets out there again, I mean, yeah, you won't hear Congress talk about it at all.
So your expectation is
It's going to
when they
disappear.
reconvene in September, nobody's going to kick it. You don't think the Democrats are going to try to get this?
I
You
don't.
think you think you
I
think
hope I'm
the
wrong,
you think
but I don't.
the peak of the heat was put on, and they've avoided the bullet.
Yeah, well, I think uh, my thought is that with the recess happening early, I'm sure there was a lot of people calling people while they were off. You will not do this. If you do this, then we're going to primary you, right? Or we're going to leak this other information.
So the time
You
gave
know?
them some
Yep.
ability to kind of put the screws to whoever's making
Yep.
noise, and you don't expect them to be making noise when they get back.
That's what I'm thinking. Yep.
All right,
We'll
that'll be
see. I hope I'm
interesting to
wrong.
see.
I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see it.
You'd love love to see it. There's enough else going on. So let's get a couple other because there's many things firing, and I don't know if it's to avoid the Epstein thing, but uh, since the last time we talked, Trump fired. You can't make this stuff up. He didn't like the labor numbers, right? It was
Hmm.
probably 2 weeks ago, a week ago. What's your take on that? You think
Yeah.
it's
So
bad?
honestly, I have not read a lot about that. I so I can't say. On the surface, all I've really read are headlines, and the headlines make me think that's just not a good idea, and he should not have done it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but there's probably more to the story too.
Well, I think the system was starting to fail. From what I read, that they survey all these companies. I mean, it's an imperfect process when you think about it. How do you determine how many jobs we're adding in the economy? It's not like everyone's reporting the jobs and somebody's sitting with a calculator at the end of the day calculating it, right?
Yep.
It's an estimate, and they do it through surveys and formulas that they use, right? And they crank the
And
survey
then they
data
revise and
through,
have
right?
massive
And then they
revisions.
revise it as they get better information. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're thinking that somebody's, getting the numbers down to the perfect number, it's not the way it works. It's to provide provide a trend line to say, are we adding jobs? Are we negating jobs?
Wonder if AI could do it better.
So yeah, I would say generally maybe they need to update their methods, right? Which should have been the message rather than this is political data and we're going to replace the person. I think that is not good for markets. It's not good for any information that's coming out. And then they replace, as I pointed out to you, he's replacing the woman who had the Bureau of Labor Statistics with the head economist from the Heritage Foundation.
Yep.
You couldn't possibly come up with a worse nominee, I don't think. I heard several economists say, usually we don't nitpick about, economists, but this guy. And then I pointed out he went to Northern Illinois University where he got both his master's
Yep.
and PhD in economics. And I actually had, when I was going for my PhD, Northern gave me a free boat ride, free
Yeah.
free road, and I turned them down because they're not that good at economics.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Well,
Bob
and
and Bob
he,
said I could be
yeah,
that.
Mega King Kevin or something. Yeah. You just
It's just
taking it.
funny to think about that. That's where we've gone.
But so here's an example of it's to kind of back up the idea that the government numbers they're not great. In the CPI calculation that came out today, right? So CPI was up, what was it, 0.9%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the producer price index, I think,
Yeah.
the
So
wholesale numbers.
what do you think over the last 5 years, based on today's CPI reading, the change in the cost of health insurance is, according to the government? Let's take a guess.
Over the last 5 years,
Yep.
annually, how much it's
Yep.
gone up? That's probably 5%, right?
According to the government in this latest CPI reading, health insurance has declined 19% over the last 5 years. The cost of health insurance.
So you're questioning that number, and I can
There's
tell
no
by your
way.
voice.
There's no way the cost of health, right? There's no way.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I
I
mean,
know my
I'm a
insurance
little
rates
bit
have gone
familiar
up.
with how they come up with these numbers, but yes, because they have to do comparables, right? You're not looking at apples and oranges over a period of time, right?
Yeah,
So even though
I
the price of
understand that, and you've got
TVs
to,
have gone
you've got
up,
to
you've
adjust
got
for inflation
right
and cost of whatever.
quality and technology and all that stuff, right? You gotta, and all that makes it much more complicated. You're just looking at, okay, I'm paying more for healthcare, but you might be getting better healthcare, right?
Well,
And so
I'm
that's got to
paying more
strip
for
out.
again insurance though. It's the cost of insurance, not the health care so much.
Well, even insurance, like with Obamacare, you're getting better insurance because you don't have a lifetime max that you used to. You don't have um, pre-existing conditions, right? So you're getting a better product. You now get they have to cover certain things, right?
Yep,
So that's going to raise the cost of your health care, but you're getting something different for it.
sure.
And it's not perfect. I'm not saying that's the right number, but I do think if you really drill down, there are people who are pretty. I had a professor at University of Chicago who works for the Fed. He does their beige books. Brilliant guy, and there are people who think about these things way more detail. But on the face of it, you're right. 19% doesn't feel right, right? 19% reduction
Negative,
do-
yeah.
doesn't
Doesn't feel
feel
right.
right. But I think if you drill down, somebody can explain to you how they got that number. I don't think it's pulled out of thin air,
There's
and I
no
think
way
there's lots
anybody
of.
at the Fed is smarter than two guys sitting on a podcast drinking. No way.
That's
That's
true. I'm just saying. I still respect experts, uh, and just because
yeah.
I've dealt I've
I
dealt with
hate the
people throughout
argument.
my career,
I
and
hate the
and
substitute stuff, and yeah.
it gets complicated. And like I said, even with the estimates on the labor, there's no when you think of a huge economy, there's no real good way to do it, right? I mean, they're not counting. Nobody's reporting what everyone's paying for something, so they are estimates. But I do think they can explain to you how they came up with the number, and I think at the end of the day, you're gonna after they explain it to you, you're gonna say, well, that sort of makes sense, but the number
Why
that you came up with doesn't.
why couldn't they use something like tax revenue per unit, right? So it doesn't really matter if you're buying an apple or an orange or an apple grown in China versus an apple grown in the United States. If you have tax revenue
What do you mean by tax
based
revenue
off
per unit?
a fixed sales tax, right?
Yeah.
Based off a fixed percentage across the board of everything that feeds CPI. So it doesn't matter if it's a luxury item or not. You obviously need to make sure that the unit stays the same, right? You want to be comparing a year where somebody buys 5,000 TVs versus a year where 6,000 TVs are sold. You still want to keep it at that 5,000 TV level. If you were to do it that way, because the percentage, if you get a 5% tax on everything, the percentage stays the same. But if the price increased, the tax dollars would increase. And that would keep
I'm
everything
not
level.
following you, but maybe you should call the.
Yeah.
I think Donald might be looking for people with those kind of ideas.
I'm trying to just find a way, because the substitute thing bothers me. You know, I mean, yeah, you could say TVs are cheaper now than they used to be,
Huh?
right?
Even though you're spending more for the TV, right?
Right. And not all TVs are equal either, right? From
No,
a feature
they're
perspective.
very complicated. That's why I said
And
it's not easy to do.
yeah, so, cost of alternatives isn't necessarily a great adjuster on CPI. and there's obvious benefit to the government, right, to be able to manipulate that number to their benefit because it's expensive when you have to raise Social Security payments or
But
other
here's
type
the
of
thing.
welfare
I don't
payments
think the
based on
numbers.
CPI
Although I heard Jim Cramer questioning
or cost of living.
the PPI today because he didn't think it was right, and he kind of blamed the Doge cuts. He's like, I think they're cutting too deep into some of these agencies, which I don't know whether that's the right thing or not. But here's the thing. I do think we rely on these numbers to get a gauge for the economy. And I do think they are generally, and we can always improve, but generally I think they're pretty, like I said, if somebody explained to you how they came up with it, you would in detail, you would sort of agree that they're not pulling it out of their ass.
Yeah, but I also think if you took the calculation they were using 150 years ago and applied it to today,
Yeah. You'd
the
have a
number
totally.
you'd have a totally different number.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I agree.
So
I
it's
think it's
also
more.
not.
I think it's more directional than the number. I think it's more trend than the actual number. I do because if you're calculating things the same way, the trend is what's going to matter, right? Rather
Yep.
than the actual number. So
Yeah, but they adjust that calculation pretty often,
and I think it's their
sometimes year to
incentive to
year.
show. You're right. There is a political incentive to show things a certain way, right? I'm hoping the deep state doesn't do that, but we question everything now. So, let's see. What else do we want to cover? Gerrymandering, Texas gerrymandering. I think you're against that, right? We have
I
to
do
be
not
against
like.
it.
I absolutely do not like gerrymandering. I've never liked it.
But
You know.
now I guess Newsom's saying he's going to do it in California, and so it's
Yeah.
now
Well, I
a
mean, New
nuclear
York,
arms race on
New York has
gerrymandering.
previously gerrymandered in the middle of a cycle, right? So
I don't
this isn't a
I'm
Texas
not.
isn't
No,
doing
it's
something
not a.
different,
It's not a Republican versus Democrat thing. I mean, it's
right?
they both do it. They both absolutely do it, and I just can't believe the American people still
It's
allow
garbage.
this to happen.
Yeah, well,
It's just.
it's been challenged in the Supreme Court many times. And
Yeah, I know. Certain maps have, and they've been kicked out. We went through it in Wisconsin here. I just don't know how this is allowed to occur because it's really a bad thing for our.
yeah, it's very
Our
clearly based on politics. I think race.
well,
Oftentimes, it's based on race, even though they'll never admit that, and that's how they usually get thrown out. But
it's getting worse and worse because one, you have more data on people, right?
yeah,
And secondly, now you have AI and you have massive computers, so you could throw all this data into a system and really redraw maps
yep,
targeting street
yeah,
by street, right?
yep. And the
Uh,
party in power. So, in the case of Illinois, for instance, where they lost a seat the last cycle, the Democrats were able to we lost the seat, but they just gerrymander a Republican seat out so they can keep the same number of Democrats in there, and the Republican loses the seat, right?
yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
talking about. Until
You're
we get,
taking the power away from the people. That's the
absolutely,
ugly thing
right.
about it, right? Is gerrymandering needs to go.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think
we
Congress
need
can
like a
change that.
no,
Yep.
it needs to be in the Constitution
Yep.
that this is the way congressional districts are going to be drawn. It's going to, and we should have it countrywide. None of the states determine. Now it's just states determine how, some states have an independent commission. Some states, most of it's still the legislatures. So if you have a Republican legislature, they're going to redraw the districts, to favor the Republicans. If you have Democrats,
you get
they're
one
gonna do
shape.
that.
You
Yeah.
get to draw a square, and the size of that square is going to be based on population, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah. Let's see. What about the Trump taking over Washington D.C. basically, which came
Yeah,
this week? That was a surprise to me. I
it does
didn't
not bother
realize
me.
it does not bother you for what
Well, it's
reason?
constitutional.
Well,
So
for D.C. you're saying,
yes,
not
yeah.
where he's threatening
Chicago.
Chicago. I understand
Um,
that. I understand DC is different, and there's the home rule and all of that stuff. And it'll be interesting if he goes over 30 days. I do understand it, but I also understand this is becoming a trend with him to use the military for police enforcement action. And I think that is not a good thing.
you know, he said something the other day that kind of made sense about DC, but I'll expand on it after. He said, my father told me, when you walk into a restaurant and
Yeah,
if the front
I know
door's
this too.
dirty, the kitchen is going to be dirty, right? And that makes a lot of sense to me. How many years in these major cities have we allowed gang violence to destroy communities, keep the gang violence keeps people poor, right? It harms business owners. It prevents children from living a good life and being able to focus on an education, and helps to funnel drugs into the environment, things like that. Like, how many years have we put up with this stuff? And somebody needs to do something. Now, am I arguing that he should send the military in and just start mowing down gangs? No, of course not. Um, Somebody's got to do something, and I think DC is a great opportunity for him, because of the law, to show this can work. And if he can clean up DC, then at least he provides a blueprint for the other cities that have an issue, right?
So
So
you're not worried about a slippery slope here.
I, I'm not.
Okay.
What I'm
Usually people
actually
aren't until they are.
I'm excited in the same vein, really, about the fact it sounds like we're about to go after the cartels, with our military, which is really interesting to me. Like, I think that needs to happen too, to be honest with you. But I'm a bit concerned there because of the fact that a lot of those governments in South and Central America and even in Mexico are heavily funded and influenced by the cartels. So if the cartel money dries up and the cartels disappear, I just wonder how many of those governments might collapse. It's concerning.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but yeah, I'm just not big in. Yeah, I think the general trends in crime, at least for the last 30 or 40 years, generally have been down. And we've
They
done it
stopped
without the use.
requiring.
We've done it without the use of the military. So I'm worried about the slippery slope. I don't know if you are. It doesn't sound like you are.
Crime reporting is different too, right? I mean,
Eh,
states aren't necessarily reporting murders
well,
anymore in
that's
cities.
you're getting all back to the point where you know you can't trust the election results. You can't trust anything. I'm going to tell you what the real story
Yeah.
is, and you're going to believe that. So that again is what a dictator does. Um,
I've had a car stolen from me before. Let me tell you, it did not feel good. Um, could have been worse, right? I could have been shot. Somebody else could have been shot, right? But that sort of thing happens every day in these cities, and in some it's worse than others. But I really do think it's to not fix these problems. It's so detrimental to society, and it's even I'd even go as far to say it's racist because we don't care about these minority communities enough to help them stop it.
but it's all in how we go about fixing them. Just like the immigration thing, I think people would generally agree. But then when you're pulling people off the streets and citizens, and you have ICE agents, in masks, pulling people and throwing them in cars and
Yeah, I
sending them
think
to Alligator Alley or somewhere, it's not a good look.
I think he's trying to get people to leave on their own accord and not show up and maybe scare them a bit. I don't know about you, but
He scared me.
if I saw my cousin that's an illegal immigrant get sent off to some random country in Africa because he got caught by ICE,
You might
I
not
might
show up.
think again about
Oh, I'm sure.
showing up. Yep.
We could also have public hangings. I don't think that's a good idea either.
I kind of like that idea. To be
All
honest
right.
with you.
Well, we'll go on that. All right.
I don't want my kids to be exposed to that, but I do sometimes wonder if we should go back to stuff.
All right. We don't need the Hunger Games, Bob. All right, quick lightning round of predictions. Who has a better season, Packers or the Bears?
Packers.
Bears. No, Bears. Will Donald Trump sue South Park creators?
No.
No. You think he's laughing at it, or do you think it's upset him?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'd like to say he's laughing at it, but that press release or response tells me it's upset him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he likes it.
I think I said it to you, and I think J.D. Vance actually handled the last episode pretty well too. He said something more or less the lines of what I would have said, which was like, "Yeah, I made it," Finally.
Yeah, JD has tattoo from Fantasy Island.
Yeah. That was one of the funniest moments. There were a couple really funny moments in that
genius.
episode. One of them was
genius.
J.D. Vance getting kicked like a football.
And then Dora giving massages at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. And yeah. The other thing I thought was hilarious is when Christy Nome killed the service dog.
Yeah.
I can't believe they just did that.
All right.
Yeah, that's funny.
Who is the first I'm getting a feeling a cabinet member's going to leave soon. Because I don't think one's left yet, right?
Nope.
It's about that time. So who's going to leave first? Like of the major cabinet. Secretary of State, Defense, even Nome.
Yeah.
Treasury.
Pam Bondi.
Bondi, you think she's had enough?
That would be my guess. Just because.
Yeah, he goes through attorney generals pretty quickly.
Yeah.
She's going to run up against them at some point and try to save her own face.
I think so.
That's probably a good call. I'm either going that or little Marco. Just his looks in meetings tells me it's been painful for him.
He wants to run for president too, so he's going to have to back away from the administration at an early enough time to be able to do that. I think
that's what I'm thinking. He gets it on his resume. Maybe if they end up, tying up, the Israeli-Gaza thing or Russia-Ukraine, he can at least say he was involved in that somehow. And
I don't think he's presidential material, though. I don't think he can win in today's environment.
And my final one is, will an ICE officer get killed in a raid sometime soon? That will be an interesting...
Define soon. Eventually it'll happen.
Eventually, you think? Like this year, you think it'll...
No, I don't think so.
No, all right. But you think eventually...
Yeah, well,
it's going to run up against the wrong people. And
yeah, I mean...
Mr. Mackey's...
It's like anything else, right? You like you said with the recession. You can predict it, say it's coming. Eventually you'll be right. But
evidently, they're offering some nice salaries and bonuses, so...
I saw that.
Might have to get my app in. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
I become an ICE...
Mr. Just like Mackey and...
Yeah, like Mr. Mackey from South Park. All right, Bob. It's been great. Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
Yeah, football. Couple weeks. 2 weeks of college football.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, we're almost there. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your rest of the summer, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.